Brain Gain is sponsored by the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, Southwoods Health, Farmers National Bank, and Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Hello and welcome to Brain Gain Navigators. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Leidick, content manager with the Business Journal. Today, we're exploring careers in veterinary medicine, specifically vet techs and veterinarians. Our featured tour is with Angels for Animals in Canfield. This year, the organization partnered with Eastern Gateway Community College to offer a new veterinarian technician program to help fill a very substantial local need for vet techs. EGCC is accepting applications currently, and the first cohort is scheduled to begin in fall of 2021. Much of the clinical training for the program will actually happen at the Angels for Animals Angel Place location in Canfield. And that is where the tour took place just last month with the Business Journal. Joining us today are Drs. Mike Sabihi and Jennifer Clipse from Angels for Animals and EGCC, as well as Amber Padula, a vet tech from EGCC and Angels for Animals. Good afternoon, everyone. Say hello and wave and say hi.
Hello.
There's our esteemed panel. A little later, you're going to hear from all of our panelists, and they will be ready to answer any questions you have. So be thinking about what you want to ask. But first, I want to play a video for you of our visit to Angel Place, where we spoke with some of the folks there, including Dr. Mike and Dr. Jennifer. So I am going to go ahead and get that ready to go.
Well, welcome everybody to Angels for Animals. This is the Angel Wing, and we moved into this facility in May last year, 2020. This is the building where the Eastern Gateway Community College will have its clinicals take place.
The technician program is a new program at Eastern Gateway Community College. The program is going to start in August, and right now we are accepting application. And majority of the classes is going to be at Angels for Animal, and the students are going to have opportunity to hands-on and see and shadow veterinarians.
We currently have 7 veterinarians here, and we have 5 exam rooms.
I graduated in 2016, so it'll be 5 years.
5 years. How do you like it so far?
I love it.
I love it. That's why I stay for 40 years. I'm almost the retirement age, but I cannot quit.
Every day is different. Every day is a new excitement. Unfortunately, there are lows to the job and sadness, but it comes with a lot of happiness too.
I always was after the animals.
I've always wanted to be a vet. I've always had an interest in animals and a background in science.
And I grew up with it. And then the interest made me to apply for the college and get it.
For me, I'm more of a pet person, and so I like that I can do all the things that a human doctor can do, but I don't necessarily have to specialize.
Our veterinarians come out of the back of the exam rooms, and this is where they make up your medications. This area that we're in right now is our treatment area. We do have our dental suite complete with 1 wet table and machine. We will buy another wet table machine as time goes along. This is our imaging suite. We have state-of-the-art X-ray and ultrasound available. This is our general surgery, and we right now are able to do all types of soft tissue surgeries. We've been doing spay-neuter surgeries here since we moved in the building in 2002. So this area is our autoclave and tool preparation area. This is where all the surgical tools are scrubbed and sterilized. And then they go into these 2 awesome windows that the veterinarian surgeons take packs out when they're ready to go. We have 2 awesome surgeons here, Dr. Clipse and Dr. McCoskey.
My day-to-day, typically I do 3 days of wellness, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Wednesday, Fridays are my scheduled surgery days.
This is 1 surgical suite. This is the most awesome surgical suite in probably the United States or maybe the world, who knows. This is the preparation area. This would be one of the areas that the Eastern Gateway students would be doing their clinical work. This is where all the pets are got ready for the spay-neuter surgery. We do 30 to 60 procedures a day here.
So I've been a tech for about a little bit over a year.
I have been a vet technician for 30 years.
30 years.
Yes, started in '91.
Originally, I actually want to be a vet. I went to Westminster for 3 years, and then I switched and went to the Vet Tech Institute.
Got into it because of the love of the animals. I didn't really want to be a nurse, but was interested in the nursing profession.
I am in charge of the control drugs. I do the pre-medding of the animals, both dog, cats. I do the intubation. I do all of that. We monitor anesthesia, reverse them from anesthesia.
I think vet techs do more than registered nurse. Registered nurses are kind of funneled into one section that they can do. We are radiology techs, anesthesia techs, dental technicians, and for the surgeries, we also can give the vaccinations and do routine physical exams.
So a lot of vet school applies now, obviously. So your biology, your chemistries are really important, how drugs are mixed.
Pharmacology is a big one, knowing what the drugs are, knowing how to use them.
Biochemistry was one that was really good as well.
Whether you like math or not, math definitely does play a big part of it.
Do I use geometry? Maybe not myself, but some of the specialists use that for planning of surgeries.
More of the hands-on courses, like the like how to hold, handling, all of that, because you never know when you get an aggressive dog.
I wish I would have had a lot more, sadly, financial classes to teach me what is expected, what should I look for, how should I focus on saving up money for vet school and then the payments afterward. So if any point you want to own your own business in this field, business classes I think would be a must for them. So the biggest things, volunteering, shadowing, there's so many aspects. I think sometimes people get in their head, I'm gonna play with puppies and kittens all day, and you see all the good aspects, but experiencing the bad too.
There's the happy puppy visits and happy kitten visits, but there's also the opposite end of life, and that happens every day.
But really shadowing as many vets as you can in many different aspects of careers as you can.
I think a lot of it's mental. You know, you're trying to keep 2 or 3 balls in the air at the same time all the time.
But I think myself and my colleagues are those type A. You study, 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 you focus, focus hard. You've got everything, your ducks in a row before you just go, and it's not on a whim job.
We've got 4 surgical tables in here, and the techs and the assistants, in order to get through this many procedures in a day, they're getting these animals ready for the veterinarians, and then the veterinarians do the actual procedures. I can almost find veterinarians easier than vet techs, which is hard to believe. I mean, a veterinarian is 8 years of school, a vet tech is 2. We have probably 5 vet tech programs within 100 miles of this place. We don't get any. I don't know what happens to them. There's a huge demand for them.
There is a lot of interested individuals to participate in the program. If they want more information, they can go to the Eastern Gateway Community College website, and there is 800 number that they can call.
Credits can transfer back and forth between the schools. I've got some YSU pre-vet students here that are probably going to transfer into the RVT program because they've decided, you know, vet school is too high of a bar for them. So they're going to start with this. And once again, they decide later they want to flip back, they can.
It's so open. There's so many vast opportunities.
It's a great job, and in the last 30 years, there's been a lot more advancement, and now there's a lot of specializations, which there were not. And there's so many more schools at this point.
This is a hard profession. You can apply to 30 schools, 50 schools at a time. Right now, there's at least 27 accredited. It's a cutthroat field. There's just a high candidacy field that don't give up, don't see that you don't get in right away. Have a backup plan if you don't get in the first time, but don't give up.
All right. So that was the world premiere of the Angels for Animals and EGCC tour video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I see our panelists are all turning their cameras back on. So at this point, I want to open the floor to questions from our attendees. If you would like to ask the panel a question, you can click the raise hand icon down at the bottom of the screen, and I will turn on your microphone so you can actually ask the question. If you would just prefer to type out the question, there is a Q&A box down at the right are down at the bottom of the screen, and you can type out your question and I'll ask it for you. So I have a couple of icebreakers. So I will go ahead and ask the first question. And it's one of the last things that was sort of discussed in the video was this need for vet techs in the area, and how much easier it is to find actual veterinarians than it is vet techs. What is a vet tech, and why is the need so great?
Yeah, the vet techs are just like a nursing for physicians. But the good thing is the technician does a lot more than a nurse, because they do the radiology, they help in the surgery, they help for anesthesiology, and also help the veterinarian for the medicine.
Amber, you're a vet tech, aren't you?
Amber.
Yes. I've been a registered vet tech since 2004.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your experience with it. Do you enjoy the work? What led you to be a vet tech as opposed to a full-on veterinarian?
When I was young, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. I started in a 4-year school program. A couple years in, I changed my mind and wanted to go to tech school. I was working 2 jobs was part of it as I was in school full-time as well. So in the long term, I didn't feel like I could get through that much time without getting burnt out before I finished. So I moved to Colorado to go to vet tech school. I'm originally here from Ohio. When I graduated from there, I was initially working in a teaching hospital that was primarily emergency and critical care from what I did there, although it was a large specialty facility. After that, I moved back to Ohio. I worked here at the shelter for a few years when they first built our old surgery suite, as we say now, in the basement. That was in 2004 when I started here. I was the head surgery tech here for 3 years and also worked part-time in private practice. So I got a good mix of a little bit more advanced that they would do, the private practice I worked in versus shelter medicine. They're definitely very different worlds as far as dealing with herd health and group health versus dealing with personal owners and their pets. Client communication, of course, is really, really important in private practice. You're able to offer a little more, costs are a little higher. So after a few years, I went to Ohio State University. I was emergency critical care technician there for 9 years. Definitely got to see and do a lot there. Learned a lot of advanced skills, worked with a lot of students. We offer everything in that hospital from radiology, oncology to special cardiac procedures. We offer hemodialysis for cats and dogs. I dealt with a lot of ventilator cases as well. So it's very advanced, much like working in a large human hospital. So about 10 years later, I decided I wanted to move back to my family neighborhood. So I came back up this way, did some private practice again, spent a few years as a head technician here at the shelter and surgery. But just recently was hired on at Eastern Gateway. So I started just about a week ago, helping to get classes and things ready for this tech program in the fall. So spending a lot of time at the shelter still now, obviously, but excited to start having students again in a few months.
What do you like most about being a vet tech?
I'd have to say that I feel like there's a lot of options open. You can change your career path in a lot of ways. I know I already mentioned shelter and private practice are very different. Working in the specialty is very different. I love emergency critical care myself. That's definitely my passion, but there are so many specialties at places like that, just like a human hospital. So you really can go any direction you want. If you decide that at some point being more hands-on with the animals isn't as much for you, you can also look in working in doing research. There's a lot of facilities for that. You can work in drug sales as a representative, or you can work in the sales of medical equipment as well. We're doing lab work is another popular option for people. If you're really into the microbiology, parasitology, hematology, that kind of thing. Even pet insurance now. I know there's a lot of RBTs that are working for insurance companies. So within that little niche, there's definitely a lot of options as far as career paths. And since they are in demand so much, really anywhere in the state you could walk in with an RBT license, you can get a job.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And it certainly seems like there's a lot of options for folks with that certification. Um, just other questions from our attendees here. What do you think is the biggest challenge with being a vet tech?
Combination of burnout and emotional fatigue. A lot of that comes from, excessive hours, some jobs, and a lot of it is emotional wear from, dealing with clients. You have to be someone that's extremely compassionate to get into this profession, but that can be really hard as well. And when it comes to euthanasia, that's something that's hard for a lot of people to deal with, and something you have to know you can handle doing in advance. The mechanicals of it is one thing, but when you're dealing with a family with small children or an older person that's crying because this pet is all they feel they have in their life, and you have to put them down for their best, it can be a hard decision to make, and it can be really sad. Even in the shelter medicine, that's a really hard area that I think people burn out from, is high volumes of euthanasias, especially with the cats and the population problem.
With a vet tech's day to day, do you find yourself doing a lot of, as you said, like the euthanasias and dealing with the parents? And what's some of the technology that you're using as well?
Euthanasia is definitely pretty common, especially, in private practice or shelter. Not as much in specialty places. The reason for that is usually if they're going to a big specialty hospital, those are the clients that really have a lot of money to be able to do whatever they can. Unfortunately, most people don't have pet insurance. So a lot of people you see come in your private practice area aren't able to do a lot of treatments because they can't afford it. So unfortunately, that can be expected to be part of a normal day if you're working in a vet clinic.
What about the technology? What's some of the technology that you use every day?
Every day in private practice, you can expect to be using laboratory equipment. You need to learn how to do analysis of fecal samples, urine samples, and blood samples. If you're working in surgery, you're going to have a lot of monitoring equipment in there. So similar to people, you need to be able to, read an EKG, monitor their oxygen percentages, measure blood pressures. If you get into somewhere that's more advanced, those things, go up a bit, but in a normal clinic, you can expect that every day.
Very good. Dr. Sabihi, regarding the vet tech program at EGCC, are students required to take any sort of prerequisite classes before being accepted into the program? And since a lot of our participants today are in middle school and high school, are there any things that they can be doing to prepare if they're interested in this program?
The requirement is math, English, and chemistry. Those three requirements are the prerequisite before they get accepted. And on top of that, they have to have minimum of 40 hours of field experience, either in a private practice, shelters, farm, anywhere that they can get, working with the animal, dealing with animals, and get hands-on. That has become a field experience, and that is one requirement. Minimum of 40 hours, but if they have more experience, the better chance of getting to the program. If they have chemistry and math in high school with C and plus on the grades, they can transfer that information or that grade to the EGCC and they accept it. I think one of the requirement is C or C plus.
And how long does schooling take before you can actually become a registered vet tech?
The program is 2 years program, 4th semester, and it's about 64 credit hours that they got to take, that including many course subjects that they have to take. Each semester, there is a curriculum assignment that they have to take.
Okay. And
80
just
or 90%, 80 or 90% of the courses is going to be at Angels for Animal. We have a section of the building that is just dedicated to the Eastern Gateway Community College Vet Tech program.
got you. And so 2 years for a vet tech, and just to offer some point of reference, what is the amount of schooling required to be a full-blown veterinarian?
In order to get accepted to any vet college, you got to have 4-year degree of bachelor's in science, especially. And then after 4 years, you go 4 years into the vet school and you become a veterinarian. One of the toughest schools to get in is the veterinary schools. It is not easy to get in, but you got to have a good GPA. You got to have a lot of field experience. You have to have a good resume, and those are all pluses when you go to the interview and they accept the student. Dr. Chris probably can give you more information, and she's gonna talk.
Yeah, so I completed my undergrad, which was a bachelor's in science. That was 4 years. I was able to thankfully get in on my first try at Ohio State. So I did 4 years at Ohio State. That gets you as a general practitioner. If you decide you want to specialize, you usually do at least 1 year of internship, if not more, and then residency, depending on what specialty you want. Your residency may be longer, 2, 3, 4 years. Residencies are even harder to get into because the spots are limited. So oftentimes, if you're not able to get on your first try, you end up having more than one internship in between. Oftentimes, students, if they're not sure what they want to do right out of vet school, they will have an internship before they go into settle into like a general practitioner area. It's kind of like a little bit on your own. You're obviously a doctor, but you have those who you can look up to for good guidance and mentorship most of the time.
So tell us a little bit about how you came to be a veterinarian. What drove you to the profession?
I've always wanted to be a vet since I was little. I was always interested in science. Kind of in my video, I'm more of an animal person. I knew I didn't necessarily want to work with humans necessarily as far as patients. And so veterinary medicine was kind of an interest of mine. I kind of liked biology or marine biology, but getting into science, I kind of liked all aspects of it, both the medical side and treating animals. I never really had a specialty that I necessarily found more interesting than others. And I think just my personality, I think over time I'd get bored in just one field in particular, where that's what's kind of nice about being a general practitioner is you see everything. When things become outside your range of capabilities, that's when the specialists get involved and you have them to kind of help guide you, even if owners necessarily can't afford it. A lot of specialties are nice because you can reach out to them for help and for guidance too. I was able, I knew I wanted to kind of stay close to home, and YSU offered a really nice undergraduate program. They offered all of the necessities to get into vet school, and then just the applying process to vet school itself.
And what do you like most about your job?
I like that I see new things every day. It's always a learning experience. They come in for a wellness, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a wellness. Sometimes they're actually sick appointments, and owners don't realize. They see these pets every day, so they don't always pick up on the subtleties, or they think that that's normal. We have pets that come in sometimes for sad euthanasia decisions, and there are options that we can actually fix, and owners just aren't aware of it. So it's always a new day. It's never the same thing every day.
And how does a veterinarian's day differ from a vet tech? What are some of the things that you do with your day to day?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff we do together. A lot of the final decisions come down to me and my choices. The vet tech is there to help me fulfill what I'd like to get done. So they're there holding the pet, where I'm the one doing oftentimes the physical exam, unless it's a tech appointment for simple vaccines. I'm the one who has to give the rabies legally by law. Surgery wise, the tech's in there monitoring my patient while I'm the one actually performing the surgery. The meds that they get ready are oftentimes the ones that I have prescribed for them to get ready for me. It's definitely a group effort.
Okay. And in the video, we heard that whether it's a vet tech or a veterinarian, it's a very type A personality kind of career. What does that mean, or what do you mean by that?
A lot of us in vet school, at least at Ohio State, we had to go through a personality assessment to kind of see, like, learn about ourselves. A lot of us were considered the type A, and there's other acronyms for them, but we're people who like things a certain way. We like to think about them rather than being on a whim and just going kind of freely throughout our day. We're the kind that like to have a plan. We plan for the future. We ideally like to have a set thing in mind in our head. And if it necessarily doesn't go that way, that's when we become kind of stressed or a little bit unhappy with how our day is going. Oftentimes, most of us sadly get burnout or have emotional burnout because we don't know how to say no. And that's part of the field, is we care a lot. And I think owners know that. And so we don't really often set boundaries for ourselves when it comes to leaving on time, adding in that extra case of the day, even though we know that maybe we should just go home and rest, but we want to take care of that patient.
And as far as patients, are you only taking care of dogs and cats, or are there other animals coming into for animals?
At least here, mostly dogs and cats. I have seen rabbits or two. At my previous practice, I did small exotics, so guinea pigs, rabbits to an extent. But you can specialize in those if you just want to see exotics, or equine medicine, just do horses or large animal. Lab animal medicine is one. So if you wanted to work with your mice and things like that, you can really specialize. There are feline only practices where they just do cats only. So it's open.
Jeremy, in this profession,
Yes.
you can also work for government. You can do the pharmaceutical. You can do research. You can do farm animals, equine medicine, companions, poultry, zoo animals, exotic animals. It is wide open profession. You can be specializing in any one of these things.
And what is the job outlook, Dr. Sabihi, for veterinarians?
Right now, it's so shortage of the veterinarians and the vet tech. I don't know why. The reason I don't know, because most of corporations, they're opening a lot of clinics, and that's why it's a lot of demand for vet techs and the veterinarians. We did some statistic by between 2 to 5 years, there is over 20% increase in demand for veterinary technician.
Wow, 20% increase in demand for vet techs.
Yeah.
So no shortage of jobs anytime soon, it sounds like.
No. That's what Diane says on that video, the founder of the Angel for Animal. It is really difficult to find the technicians.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of places are looking for them. And before they graduate, they already got the job.
So for vet techs and veterinarians, what is the average salary range for both of those types of careers?
Depend on what part of the United States you are. Usually around Ohio and eastern part of the state, except New York, is about between 30 to 40,000, or maybe more. Right now should be more because it is the demand for the vet tech, and they're paying good money. California is about 50 to 60,000.
And what about veterinarians? What's the average salary for veterinarians?
Again, depend on your specialty, your skills. Is a good pay. Let me put it that way.
For sure. With the amount of schooling, I should hope so.
Yeah, it is not as much as the physician they're making. I wish we could, but it's getting better.
Okay. Now, both Dr. Clipse and Amber had mentioned burnout being a concern. With vet techs and veterinarians, how many hours is everyone working a week?
Again, it's a stressful job. You got to be strong, very strong emotionally. You got to be handle the stress. You have to have communication skills to talk to the clients, talk to the owners, and the hours is sometimes if you are doing surgery rather than 8 hours, you may go for 12 hours. Depend on what you're doing. And a lot of places, they are open till 9, 10 o'clock at night. A lot of places, they close at 5 p.m. The bigger the practice, the more veterinarian, the longer hours, and they do more specialty operations.
And Amber, I'll ask you straight away, how do you just personally deal with that burnout, and what type of person do you think is best suited to be a vet tech?
For myself to deal with it, I definitely reached a point in my life I wanted more of a equal home and work kind of life balance. I think it took a lot for me to kind of do that for myself. I was someone that, when I started and I was here at the shelter initially, I was a salary employee. My pay was based on 50 hours a week because they knew I would have some overtime. But in 5 days, I would usually put in 60 or 70 hours a week. And then my 2 days off, I worked in a practice. And I went like that for a long time. And when I was at OSU working with emergencies, sometimes it's just really hard to leave, even though there was no force there that made it so that I had to stay. It was just really hard to leave. There's so many animals on some days that needed help compared to staff that was there. You just feel too guilty to walk out the door. I think honestly, until I got a little older, and then now I have a child at home, that's finally what made the difference to me, to be able to start saying no and realizing that I needed to make some time for myself outside of just work. But honestly, if that change didn't happen in my life, I'd probably still be working a lot more crazy hours. And definitely for those reasons, there are technicians that just work part-time places. You just have to learn how to say no when you're at a point that you feel like it's too much. Make sure you find things at home that help you to relax, whether it's, a hobby, or you just want to watch sports, or you want to be involved with church, or maybe volunteer or do something else. I think having good friends and family support can be really helpful as well, because I think everyone has a lot of venting in this profession they feel like they want to do when they go home, that you really can't let off that kind of steam when you're in a professional environment. And then I'm sorry, what was your other question?
Just what type of person you think is best suited for a vet tech position?
Someone that I guess is able to really handle emotion well, obviously, because there's a lot of ups and downs every day as far as that goes. You have to be extremely detail oriented. You have to be someone that can really think outside of the box sometimes. And you have to be really proactive. You have to be someone that can be an advocate for all of the patients. Doctors are busy. They count on you for their support. So you have to be a really good multitasker as well. Even in private practice, if you have, appointments spread out through the day, there's always a lot of overlap and things going on and appointments that run over. So you have to know how to manage multiple patients at once, or monitor multiple patients under anesthesia at once. So I think those are definitely some of the best qualities to have.
Got you. And Dr. Clipse, you in the video, you were talking about volunteer and shadow opportunities, particular for younger students who might be interested. Do those opportunities exist at Angels for Animals, and how can a student get involved?
Yeah, so we do have them here, depending on their age. A parent just has to sign off on it or has to be with them, especially if they're younger. Otherwise, there's I think it's online, or you can contact the manager. Her name is Angela. She usually sets up all of the shadowing opportunities. And then depending on where their interests are, how much animal experience they've had, usually they start on the shelter side, just learning the ins and out of what kind of shelter medicine, becoming acclimated with cats and dogs in general, and then moving over to the wellness side, where they actually interact with us veterinarians and vet techs and vet assistants. Occasionally, depending upon their comfortability, they may be able to see a surgery or two in a day, depending on what day they come.
Okay. And how much of a team effort is it? When you're talking about that, that burnout, the stress. I mean, when I was there, it looked like it was a well-oiled machine there at Angels for Animals. So, tell us a little bit about the teamwork and the team effort. How often are you working by yourself compared to working with some of your coworkers?
Yeah, so this is a profession where it's completely a team effort. If you're assistants or technicians, you don't have them. I mean, it's a one-person show. It's hard to do that all. You can't sit there and hold an animal by yourself, give them vaccines, medicate them, do all of those things. So it really requires a team. It requires the right team too, because if you don't have team players or an individual is not willing to be a team player, it can really bring the morale down in a hole and really slow the process, especially on surgery days. Especially back in spay and neuter, you've got one or more technicians, you've got multiple assistants. Not only you've got people prepping new animals, you've got people monitoring the ones that are on, you've got ones who are recovering patients. Everyone's got to be able to communicate very well to make sure at any point in time there's a problem, everyone's got to be notified to help, especially if it's a issue with a pet. Same thing just during up in wellness. I've got my assistant or my technician who I work closely with. So they're reading cues from an animal while I'm talking to an owner that an animal is nervous. If they're not letting me know that, or if I'm not picking them up on it, or vice versa, that's where people get hurt. Pets are scared and they don't always understand. You don't always get your happy-go-lucky. So sometimes we do use muzzles, not just for aggressive pets, but for scared pets. And those are where we have to learn how to read animals as well, along with owners. Sometimes they come in and you can tell just that something is wrong. Maybe they want to choose euthanasia, but they don't want to say it for themselves. And you have to kind of be able to read and speak with owners and have that compassion to say, hey, is there more that you want to tell me than maybe that we're here for? Because oftentimes I think owners are afraid to just say, hey, I'd like to, cost-wise, pet age-wise, I think euthanasia is the decision I want, but I don't want to be the one to say it because it is a hard decision. And so this is definitely a team sport type of place. You've got to really be able to work with not only owners, but your front office staff, as well as everybody every day.
How difficult is it to work with pets, especially when it comes to communicating? I mean, they can't speak. So how do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so a lot of times in school, at least, you get a lot of behavioral lessons, or if not, you should take the electives to reach out and learn. There's a lot of different types of handling out there, some better than others. Low stress handling is a really thing right now. A lot of people think dogs come in and they're being aggressive because they're just mean. And sometimes it's really that they're fearful. So it's learning those cues, learning to when less is more, meaning maybe just standing next to them, gently petting them and doing your exam that way, rather than, having to scruff a cat or having to hold a dog or putting them, if we need to. There are dogs who are just so fearful or they truly are aggressive that's where chemical restraint comes in. And we have to discuss with the owner what's best for the pet to get what we need done as safely and as quickly as possible. So there have been times where we've had used sedation for particular patients to get just general physical wellness, just because of the fear or true aggression from lack of just exposure in their daily life.
And does Angels charge for the services? Do you provide it from a discount, or are they free of charge in some cases?
There is usually a reduced count from your typical general practitioner. We are starting to offer more things like dental radiographs, ultrasound. They are still your more expensive diagnostics, but they are still at a slightly reduced cost from your typical general practitioner. I don't believe that we usually do charity things. However, there are organizations like Buster's Brigade. There's other ones out there that if owners still need financial assistance, that they will apply for. The organization will cover all or half, and then pay Angels directly for that service, so the owner doesn't have to worry about financial options. Depending on the place, although I'm not sure what all of ours are here, there's things like care credit and different financial payment options. If it's affordable to an owner, pet insurance is always a good way to go to, but sometimes the financial side is the hardest part about our job.
Dr. Sabihi, regarding the program at EGCC, how is recruitment going? How many people are ready for that fall cohort, and how many people do you anticipate accepting into the program?
The program, we are planning to have between 25 to 27 students in August, and it's supposed to be one-time enrollment per year, but depending on how many students we're going to have, we may have to do it twice or two times a year. Between 25 to 27 to start, and right now I'm not exactly sure because they apply to the college rather than apply. Don't see the application till we get enough people. Right now, I think it's about 8 to 10.
Okay.
So we still have room for applicants if they are interested to get the package. Call the Eastern Gateway, talk to a enrollment specialist, and they give you the package. They give you all the necessary forms, and they tell you exactly what you need to do.
When a student is ready to graduate the vet tech program, what test is it that they're required to take to become certified? And is EGCC able to give this test if one is required?
No, the test is national board exam. Is throughout the United States, the same exam. And they take it one time. When they pass, I think it is 70 or 75. I'm not sure. If they pass it, then they become a registered technician.
That actually answers all the questions that I see from our attendees. Any final thoughts from our panelists, whether it's final thoughts on being a vet tech or veterinarian, or maybe some parting advice for our students who are watching?
Any individual, any student that are interested, they need to get in touch with the college, get the information, get the package. And if you already have chemistry, math, English in high school, you can transfer those. You can talk to the enrollment specialist, and that is help you a lot because you don't have to take those courses. If you don't have those courses, you can apply and get them in the summertime and before you get accepted to the program.
Got you.
That one more thing is that they need to get their 40 hours of field experience. If they are interested, any student, they can apply to any shelters, clinic, hospitals, farm, and get their 40 hours. There is a special form that they got to take it with them. And when they are getting the hours, they are signed by the manager of that facility, and that they bring it back to the college that they perform their 40 hours or more.
Oh, that's great. That they can actually get some of that field experience, even volunteering at a shelter or something.
At shelter in the Angel, they can do the volunteering, and that makes their 40 hours or more.
Outstanding. Very good. Okay. Any other final thoughts, Dr. Clipse or Amber?
I would just say, just don't give up. This is a profession that has endless opportunities. Even if you find one aspect that you start to go into and you say, I don't know this way for me. I mean, as a veterinarian, even a vet tech, I mean, you can be a teacher at a school, you can go into government, you can go into lab work. So maybe you don't necessarily like surgeries or that makes you queasy. You don't necessarily have to work and you're not forced into one box in this profession.
Got it.
I guess I would just like to say, be prepared for continued lifelong learning. Whether you're a veterinary technician or you're a veterinarian, once you get your license, you're still required to do so many hours of continuing education every 2 years to be able to keep your license up to date. Medicine is constantly evolving. There's new things, procedures coming out all the time. There's new equipment being developed all the time, new medicines coming out. So those are all things that you can use to continue to grow and learn over the years.
Excellent. Well, thank you, panel, for participating today. And thank you to everyone for attending. Really appreciate your attendance and paying attention to all of our panels and all of our discussions. Please be sure to register for our next Navigators event that is scheduled for Monday, May 24th at 12:30. We will be visiting Farmers National Bank in Canfield, where we'll explore many of the different pathways in the financial industry. And I think you'll actually be surprised as to how many there actually are. So for those of you who already have a login for JA Inspire, you can use that same login for that event. But if you need to register more students, you can do so by once again going to the Brain Gain webpage at businessjournaldaily.com. Click the Brain Gain Navigators section and click the link to register. Thank you very much for our panel from EGCC and Angels for Animals. We appreciated the conversation very much. Thank you to all of our students for attending, and we'll see all of you next time.
Brain Gain is sponsored by the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, Southwoods Health, Farmers National Bank, and Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC.